All right, everybody watching out there in the interwebs. I'm interviewing Lauren
Yes, sir.
from
RecovEarth.
Earth Recov. It is a cryptocurrency project, and I'm gonna let Lauren take it away.
So basically, the gist of our project on a grand scale is to take commodities and bring them back down to a tokenized level, basically guerrilla ownership, right? So if you own, let's say you live in Russia and you own stock in BP. When Macondo happened, the stock price went down. It affected you, even though you live in Russia, and nothing to do with where you live or anything else. So that's not good. And on the other end of it, if you don't own land and you can't afford a goodly sum of legal support, mineral rights, you're probably going to get yoked for them, right? It's not going to go well for you. And so these are some of the basis points behind our creation of the initial RecovEarth project. And so we're going to tokenize the ownership of the asset. So the asset will be a small amount in one place. So maybe 100,000 wells. It's basically, that's the first project. We have a couple marked that we'd like to get, and then depending upon the raise, we buy the asset and go from there. But it's initially, we're going to buy an asset. One of the guys that works for us has been developing assets for Kane Anderson and a couple of other Shell, things like that, for a very long time. So he's definitely strong in this avenue. We're going to eliminate a very large amount of the management that tends to be in there. You'll find that you have vice presidents, like 50 of them. There's not a lot that you need in a hierarchical structure to develop assets, especially if they're already mature. One that we targeted, I think, originally sold for some hundreds of millions and produced about 20 times what it produces now. And it's basically descaled due to poor management, shutting most of them in because of operational issues. And so, being that I get exposed to a lot of tech because I'm the guy who writes the really long, boring technical papers, and then instructions, SOPs, operational documents, and that's just my ilk. I like defining something all the way out so that you know the process in its entirety, right?
Right.
So we're going to acquire an asset, and I guess I can spill the beans on it. We're going to acquire an asset that doesn't produce a lot. And so initially, when we come out of the gate, we're going to probably 5x the production in less than 60 days. And so that's a goodly sum of money. If it produces, what is it, 300, I think it's, let's say it produces 300 barrels of oil a day times 70, right? That's $21,000 a day. So we're looking at $100,000 a day. In reality, it's a $20,000 a day asset. If you put some work into it, 10,000 is what it should, is roughly what one of them should be producing that we're looking at. And that's a substantial financial leap. And that's, most people that look at it are going to say, oh, well, these guys are buying what amounts to a dog shit asset, right? And that's what I want them to think, because initially there's some sections in there that produce a goodly sum of lithium, which is my target. So lithium production in the United States, I think the second largest one, they're putting in an 18,000 square mile strip mine in Utah, kind of out in the middle of nowhere in Utah. And from what I calculated, their production, their 170 metric tons a year, I would need, if we took the wells that they had vertical in the area that we targeted and we drilled those sideways, it would take about 85 of those to be a larger producer of lithium. And so I can produce that same amount of lithium that they're strip mining in 18,000 square miles. Each one that I take it out of, it would be 80 times about 6 square feet.
So you're acquiring a lithium mine.
Nope, it's not a lithium mine. Doesn't even. It's waste. It's a waste byproduct. Another waste byproduct of that same asset. They flare the gas. So the gas, we turn the gas around and we put it into actual gas turbine generators and produce electricity.
That's brilliant. That's
and when
what
you take it, and it's all on location, right? So you're not taking anything from a grid. You're taking something that pollutes, that's a waste product, and we turn it around and we generate electricity, and then we can set up Bitcoin mining or whatever type of proof of work, if that's what you wanted to do with it, or you could run the electricity for the rest of your plants, you know, your processing facilities. And what does Bitcoin mining produce a lot of? Heat. What do gas turbine generators produce a lot of? Heat. What do you need to strip lithium from fluid? Heat. So you need to strip the lithium. And then I think in about 10 assets, we could produce enough lithium to be bigger than the top 10 lithium producers in the world. But nobody produces lithium in the way we're doing it. Nobody knows which, like that's our key secret. I know which areas produce the most, like a very large amount. I don't need strip mines and child labor in Africa. You just need these small holes in the ground. And a facility that could be on the same property as your current gas and oil processing facility, because they run off almost all of the same things. And then the next part of that is some of the tech I work on. I can take produced fluid and I can put it through what amounts to an atomic super collider that uses electricity. And for about $1.50 a barrel, which is 42 gallons, I can take that produced oil filled water and kick out agricultural grade brine that's negatively charged, that doesn't regrow bacteria. What are we currently in the middle of in the United States? Are they experiencing water shortages?
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thing to do, because the smallest machine that they make does 4,500 barrels a day. So you're talking, what, 189,000 gallons a day? I don't really know what a farm takes, but the machines can be built to scale. Now, if it's mobile, I think the max you can get out of it is about 10,000 barrels a day, but you could literally scale and push, and I could do that with any produced fluid off an oil and gas well anywhere.
It sounds like you really are you from this field?
Yes, I started in oil and gas. Yeah.
Okay.
I did. That's pretty much the entirety of my professional career. I mean, I left West Point and then went oil and gas. It's pretty much the same as the military, but they don't give you a gun, but they pay you like 5 times as much. So it's kind of a wash. I've worked in more than 20 countries. Early on, mostly they sent me because it takes me 2.5 months to learn a language. So
can you explain simply how this all ties into the token?
So the initial asset will be the single token. Moving forward, what we plan to do is take revenue and take revenue from the company and then acquire an asset. And then once we acquire an asset, it produces and money is held by the RecovEarth token. But what happens is every time there's a new project, like every time we acquire a new asset, we're going to cut off and make a new company. And 25% of the net revenue is going to go into what we call a token asset governance pool. And so in the same way, it basically, you own a certain number of tokens and you can vote on what's done with the money. We have a couple of prerequisites, like a certain percentage of it has to go to charitable acts, and you pick quarterly, it's 2%. You can say those things, but I mean, it's a governance. If they vote it out, I mean, they vote it out.
Right.
It's not my. If they invest in the token, it's their revenue work with, not mine. I mean, you basically structure your own fiscal giant, and so apparently every time the oil and gas company produces more, whichever whichever asset at RecovEarth they're tied to produces more, they get more money. So we have a main RecovEarth, and all we're going to keep doing is every time we buy an asset, we create a new token combined to it. So if you don't know much about Canada, but you know a lot about New Mexico, you say, man, I think I might get in this because it's right there, because we intend on having a map, what I'm going to call a map DApp, which is basically like a map frame that if you pick an asset or pick a token asset company, it'll show you where all the assets are. Because we're going to release 10-day forecasts and tell you revenue, which whales are up and down. They'll all have associated websites for each one so that you can see how your thing is doing. It's a Tamagotchi pet, basically, of an asset, kind of. Okay. And so it allows you to manage it. It's going to be an education course in how commodities work, firstly. And then secondly, it's going to give you the ability to engage, but at a smarter level, so that, you know, maybe you don't, well, I want to buy stock in GE. I mean, because they have service companies and electricity, and that's large. That's a large scale thing. And so it's difficult to understand how it moves, and generally convoluted to such an extent that you can, right?
Right.
And so for us, it's, you want to get into oil and natural gas? Do you want to get into lithium? Do you want to get into diamond mining? Here's a small one to start. And then when the next token comes out, if you own the previous one, we're going to do pre-sale rounds where you buy it at X price, right? So we thought about, this is going to be a governance thing that people vote on, but we want to do a pre-sale and an airdrop. So if feasible, you know, obviously there are fiscal constraints on all of it, but this is the plan, because it says basically, thanks for supporting us in the early go. Now, the next one, we already paid for the whole thing. It's already paid for up front with the revenue from the company that you believed in us, so you basically staked your money against our success, right? Not necessarily like stock, because it's not a dividend. You know, it's just like anything else in the crypto space. It's a gamble, man. You buy a token, and the token just, like, if it does well, the token inherently goes up. The only thing we do is we turn the revenue back to the growth, right? And so I'm trying to think of I get a percentage. Go ahead.
So a percentage of revenue is going to go into the token.
It's what amounts to a pool, right? So we'll take 25% of the net revenue of, let's say we buy a 100 well package in Louisiana. So RecovEarth will own 75%, and then we'll call it Louisiana Asset 1. That gets 25% of the net revenue, goes to a token asset governance body. That's the token. So if you guys take the revenue from the oil and gas and you say, we're going to make a staking pool on Ape Swap, you know, with Simple Cool Automatic Money and DAI, right? I own Simple Cool Automatic Money, Scam, whatever you want to call it, still. Say you want to make it out of that. I mean, you're free to vote and do whatever you like, but until you do, it just sits in an account. It basically almost like I don't know, maybe like a trust. I don't really know the legal framework behind what you would call it, but it's would be like kind of a retirement plan or maybe a stock club, but it's none of those things, you know?
It sort of reminds me of Hex's timeshare. I don't know if you ever heard of Hex.
I have heard of Hex, but I seemed kind of scammy, so I didn't really get into it. And then
yeah, so, I thought it was a scam too.
I didn't. It is what it is. Like I don't. It made that guy a lot of money, so I suppose it worked for him, and it may have worked for some of the owners too. But I think some of the things when people say, "Oh, I made all this money off this and that," in order for you to make money, somebody has to have lost money. As far as crypto projects are generally concerned, because it's just money in. They're not pushing revenue back. Like they're money in and money out. This is a crypto project. Have you ever seen like Cardano say, well, you know, our profits were this quarter, and so we put back in and we put it back into the token? No, you guys don't share banks. And so that was the goal of RecovEarth, is to fund the project and then take to successive token holders to take a percentage of the net revenue and say, do with this what you think is best, because you thought we were good enough for your money the first time, so what else do you think is good enough for your money? Right? I'm not the arbiter of your wealth. Like, if something does good and you think our next project sucks and you don't want to do it, that's fine. Like, if you think gold mining is busted or copper mining, or I don't know what all the projects are going to be. Honestly, it's just whatever. I worked in a lot of places and a lot of people, and so we can get into a lot of things, but inherently, I just want to give people the option to control their investments. Because when you get into hedge funds and things like that, or I mean, even at a micro scale, do you buy stocks on Robinhood, or do you buy crypto on Robinhood? Do you own that? Does that even go back to the market? No, because they have a liquidity pool. It doesn't affect the market unless it's like a really, really large move. But most of the time, it's within their own liquidity pool. Yeah. So there's a lot of problems with all of that. So for us, it's easier to just say, I'm going to take 25% of the net, and it's going to go in an account. And then this token asset governance, you guys vote with what to do on it. Because if it's making a lot of money and you petition our management team and say, we'd like to drill 2 more wells here and do this, if you pay for it out of your foundation, now you don't get 25% anymore. You get 50, right? Now it's half-half, because we're going to do the work, but since you funded it, like, why wouldn't you get more of a percentage, right? It makes sense.
So this project is basically allowing people to, in a decentralized way, get into the oil and gas and mineral.
Let's call it civilization or roller coaster tycoon in real life, right? Build your own theme park. We'll start you off ours, because in every one of these games, they give you sample sections, right? To go, well, this is normally how a building functions. That's all we're going to say. This is normally how an oil and gas field functions. This is how you make it profitable. And so if people in this group say, you know, I was looking at the statistics you guys show us every single day, and to me, optimizing a strategy would be this and this. Okay, well, let's do that. How can I get more money? Because I used, coins initially. Like, I don't know. It's like it's almost like a collective, but there's no ownership. And we have founders in the company, but the reason we kick the 25% pools off is because we don't own them. So
right. So you have a legitimate DAO, decentralized autonomous organization.
Yeah, I think that's what they'll end up being, is very small DAOs.
Okay. And is the token currently, is it an Ethereum token?
Yes, sir. It's on Uniswap.
It's on Uniswap. What's the current market cap?
Haven't looked today. I think it's maybe been on there. I don't know. We just re-released maybe like a week ago.
Yeah. So micro cap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we're relatively new. Like
I love to cover the new projects. That's where the great money is in. These micro cap projects that have potential. And
some of the go ahead. Sorry.
Basically, what I'm hearing is, I buy let's say I buy $1,000 worth of these tokens. The value of those tokens will go up, not only because of people buying them for governance purposes, but also because part of the profits are kicked back into the token.
Yeah, so it'll go up for standard speculation, but instead of being like a file coin, you know, or maybe not even Filecoin. Just pick a coin that has a functionality but doesn't own anything. Like this will have it. It's not a traditional crypto in that you have hard assets. You know, you have hard assets and you have commodities. So, you know, I'm sure that'll be what you might call priced in. Somebody's going to speculate and look at that and say, well, if they own $200 million worth of assets and the coin only costs this much, I'm going to buy this much. Somebody's going to give it some type of stock valuation. I can't speak to the mind of every single person that ever buys tokens for anything, but you're going to have traditional people that look at it as hard assets, because I can't tell you I'm not an oil and gas company that owns assets, that produces oil. It's a commodity. Right. You know, I might not, you know, we might not have an OnlyFans account, but, you know, we have something to, you know, and if you think about it more like this, crypto commodity or crypto pricing and commodity pricing tend to move like this, right? And so if commodities are as high as they currently are, and it's seeding a lot into coffers, and then maybe the people that are in that 25% governance pool say, well, we're going to buy a bunch of, pick it, Bitcoin, ETH, take your pick or whatever, they vote on it and they buy into it. And they buy into it, maybe they create staking pools or farm pools or something else like that. Well, when oil and gas goes down, they're still going to be getting revenue, but it'll be less. But the crypto money goes up. And what happens when the crypto money goes up and the price of assets goes down, oil and gas assets? Can they say, you know what we should do, guys? We should throw all of this money on an Aave and then maybe take a loan out against it. Since crypto is so high, it probably is going to pay like when they did the Polygon one. They were paying 11.5% in Matic, give or take, and charging you 3% on the loan. Let's say you get we're going to get a $6 million loan, and we're going to buy our own asset with this governance. And we're going to pay RecovEarth to manage it. And so now they get 25%, and we get 75%, because you buy a whole field outright. There are a very large amount of opportunities that we will show you how to get yourself. I mean, sometimes people think they want a crypto moonshot. They basically want someone to feed them lunch forever. I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm going to show you what we look at, how we look at it. You will see data. We will answer questions on Twitter. We can do these as often as you want. Like if you have some questions and that people submit to you a bunch of questions to ask, I mean, let's fire this up and let me elaborate. You know?
Nardo1 for the win asked, who holds the private keys to
I think he was talking about Atari.
No, he's talking about you. This
okay. Project. So the first thing that we're going to do is I have an accountant that's going to come in and speak on all that. Like if you look in our paper, there are separate sections of which people handle which things in the company. And I intend on doing it as decentralized as possible. Like I don't want to be in the 25 pools. So me personally, because I will draw a salary from managing the growth of the assets and other projects. So I don't need the token money. It's not for me. It's not there to make me wealthy. It's there to make people who to invest wealthy.
Right.
I mean, we're gonna have to have multi-sig wallets, and it's gonna be the founders. Yeah. But all of these things are like in a DAO. You can vote on it, and so it's as fluid as the token investors are. Like I could say it's this, but if they all voted and said we want to do a multi-sig wallet between this person, this person, this person, well, then it's not going to be me anymore, or whoever, or TL. It's not going to be us anymore. So it's whichever way makes the most sense for the growth of the token asset governance body is what it's going to end up being. And ultimately, you'll see that when we buy certain companies, you'll see that maybe they bought a whole bunch of land that they didn't develop and they don't allow anything to be developed on. so that they could block other people in for right-of-ways and stuff. When we start buying those, I'm going to take the land that doesn't produce anything, and we're going to give that. Just going to get rid of that. Like, it's, if you want to build a nature preserve or something on it, it will be within the profit model, because most of the assets we looked at do not make nearly what they could, but they have the employee quota to generate that revenue. They're just poorly managed. And so the most simplistic approach would be to what? Create a token asset governance body for it, and then sign over the deed and maybe say, this can never be developed on. This is a nature preserve, or it's an ecological preserve. It doesn't matter what it is, because you can afford to make it. I can say this: if you can pay the CEO of a company $22.5 million a year plus stock options, man, I bet you could. I bet you could run a nature preserve pretty cheap on that, from what I've looked, right? So it's just me. Seem pretty simple things to do that you can structure within the net revenue of RecovEarth, not the I mean, if the token asset governance body wants to do it and they vote on it, that's between them. But we will in ours for sure, because there's no reason. I realize it's I don't know. Get up to the corporate shell and you look, and a lot of things are super petty. You know, well, you can build your line. It can be 70 miles longer because I bought this first. And so, you know, as fun as 1, 2, 3 no takebacks is, like, we have to be adults at some point and say, this is not going to produce anything. It's useless. You owned it to block somebody in. So
as far as profit sharing goes, for token holders, basically, if I understand correctly, let's say I bought 1,000 tokens and I went into the governance section and I proposed a game plan, a purchase of some land with some valuable minerals, and it ends up being profitable. I would get 50% of the.
Okay, so there's two different ways that can work. If the DAO governance buys it, then if you drill wells, it's 50-50. If you guys bought a whole asset and you just paid us to manage it, you would get the 75 that RecovEarth gets, and then RecovEarth would get the 25 just to manage it. Manage it, make it profitable for you. Now, there's another thing we have. It'll be a bird dog. It'll be on the website. If you, as a human, say, RecovEarth, I think our token is new, or I'm not invested, or I don't know what you guys have going on. But if you make, and see, I honestly didn't even think about it this way until we started talking about it. And I guess there's no better way to understand a machine than to try to teach about it, right? Right. But we were thinking about having a bird dog and saying, if you recommended an asset that was for sale that RecovEarth bought, your token address would get 2% of the max max circulating supply of initial release. Obviously, these are all going to be structured different, but that's normally when you find a corporation money, I think you get between 1% and 2.5%. Like when you find money for a company to get a loan. And so for me, it only makes sense to, thanks, man. You got us a connection where we could go buy this. Here's 2% of the circulating supply of the token for this. Right? Why wouldn't you? It makes 0 sense to me to not do that. But what I was thinking just now, we were talking about it. What if they recommended it to us, and then we pitch it to all the token asset governance bodies and say, we're probably going to snag this. If you would like to do it and you capitalize on it, you give, maybe I might structure that in, give first right of refusal to the token asset governance bodies to buy the assets. Because, like I said, man, you make it and we'll make it valuable. You know what I mean? That's basically the long and short of it.
So the DAO and the token holders, all they do is make proposals. They don't actually go out in the real world and do anything. Your company handles all that. Yeah,
we'll do all the management. Yeah, like hire the people. It'll all be done single frame. And so that's like phase 1. Phase 2 is to acquire companies that service the assets. So to further decrease the cost and to introduce newer technology to the process. This is the way. You will, and then obviously your asset governance body companies can acquire assets too. Because when you're looking at your map of like where all the assets are, the same thing's going to be on there. Oh, well, here's these service companies, and you click on them, and let's say you don't know what they do. What do? You talk to somebody, the management team. Like, how does this function? And I think what we'll end up having to do is making simplistic videos of how everything engages with everything, and say, we bought a coil or bought a service rig company. What service rig companies do is they install the production and completions, and then we also use them to do the clean outs after, just a short game that, so you can see, well, I'd really like to own this asset, but there's no service companies around it. So I think they're going to be paying more money for service initially. So I can either join the DAO and say we should buy one, or maybe, try to, talk to somebody about what's the time frame here, what's the cost benefit, like what are the differences. Those are the things we're going to try to show people, so you can recognize a risk versus a reward, like in somewhere northern Washington state, like, oh man, there's an asset over here that we're going to use to produce lithium. Maybe I don't know if there's any lithium up there, but you would say there's no service companies near that. That is going to be a risk. So it might not pay out, or the payout for the company might be, like, the profitability of the endeavor might be less, right? These are the type of things we're going to try to do, because once we show you how we do it, if you go do it yourself, cool. Maybe we'll buy some of yours, right? I mean, it's...
Well, this is basically crowdfunding.
It is, except for the crowd isn't stockholders, and you're not giving the money to it. It's not like a Kickstarter. Like, I don't know. It just... I'm going to show you behind the wizard's curtain. I'm going to show you how we do it, why we do it, what we use to do it. Because if you want to go do it, you should do it yourself. Or if you know another industry that does it, you say, you guys should enter this space. Okay, would you like to come over here and work and show us how to do it? Because that's not what we do for a living. But there are a great many, like, I started out banging hammered, $9.50 an hour, working on fluid lines. And I've worked for a lot of companies, pretty like global level R&D, on engineering, even though I'm not an engineer. Write a lot of technical, super boring papers, but you can do whatever you want. I guess the distance between where you are and where you want to be is always volition. If you want to, you can. And so all we're going to do is enable people to go, because there might be a million different things. One of the concepts I actually just started on it today is called LOBO, loan out buyout. Literally, like, yeah. So let's say you wanted to get into flipping houses. You don't have the money to buy a house, so you can borrow money from somebody and pay back an exorbitant amount, or you could crowdfund it. You could say, all of my friends believe in this, so I'm going to tokenize this company, and all I'm going to do is flip houses. So we pay X amount, and then, obviously there's a lot to it, but I think it wouldn't be a bad deal where you had an exchange that was just full of coins, where individual people tokenized proprietorship. Because if your friends believe in you and they eat there, why wouldn't they buy your token? Right. Why wouldn't you just... if you want to keep local restaurants, crowdfund it. Pay the people a salary. You're still working for yourself, but you're working for everybody's working for the community, but not in the same fashion that, like populace. It's the people own the businesses. I don't know, it's as close as you can get to an ism without it being detrimental to human growth. It's probably going to be a hard thing to do, because big bank likes to take little bank. So I know we're going to run into some obstacles once larger companies figure out what we're doing. When we finish the first project and it's like, wait a minute, this oil and gas company is the #2 lithium producer in the world. Easy clap, you I'm sorry you didn't see that. That's not my fault. I can't do technological research for you. You have 17 vice presidents and 38 R&D arms to do that, and everyone that hates their job. That if you paid 8 people the right amount of money and treated them like humans and not SSIDs, you know, you probably get more out of them. You know, just saying. That's kind of what. It's kind of our target is to grow things directly with people. Like, let's all come get in the garden together. I'll tell you why this squash grows. And if you hate squash, go over there to the tomatoes. You know.
So you're envisioning in the future, in your ecosystem, a marketplace of different tokens created by users with different strategies.
Make your own money how you want to. You just, to get into the game is a very difficult thing, but it just depends on how. And so I guess, what did Mario Savio say? I guess if you can't tolerate, you know, the machine, you throw your hands upon the gears, the wheels, the levers. Was his 1969 civil rights lecture against UCLA, I remember correctly. I mean, that's us. I'm going to say, I don't want to buy stock. Stock is a sheet of paper that doesn't give me, it gives me a share, but it doesn't give me any control of the direction of the company that I'm investing in. I can only watch as other people may or may not smoke my money.
Yeah,
for us,
I think all our viewers have no interest in stocks.
Exactly. And so for me, it's like, this is me. This is how much money I make right here. I'll tell you, you want to know how much I own? It's capped at that. This is the total amount that I can ever own of the circulating supply. And I think it's between the founders, it's 0.5%. It's not my job to make money on tokens. It's my job to make you money on tokens, so you buy the next shit. So because if I can manage projects, I can glean a good salary. It'll be the same flat every time. It's always the same.
So let's say
if you give me anything to do, I will show you. It's not. I will show you how to pilfer the coffers. You want to know the next one? So come on. So this is a funny one. Do you know how a co-op works?
No.
Let's say for beef.
Okay.
In a state, normally, if you have cattle, you can't slaughter and sell your beef. You have to take it to a processing facility, and there's rules and regulations and inherent costs. It's different all over the United States, right?
Right.
What if you tokenize the ownership of a processing facility? Then you could take the meat that you slaughter, you could sell it locally, right, to your grocery stores. Who can compete? Can Tyson compete with you if your chickens are from here and you had to take them down the road? No, they couldn't, right? And so you have what's called let's call it a co-op coin. I mean, you can co-op everything from corn to carrots to whatever, right? But processing facilities have processing schedules for beef. All different types of beef are processed all year long, right? And so let's say you had processing facilities, something like $25-ish million. And so people start bringing your cattle there to get processed, right? Let's say a large company wants to come in and they want to buy it to sell it, monopolize the economy. What do token holders do in a token holding scenario? Can they vote to not let companies process their stuff there? They can. They can vote against collective manipulation. This is the play. It's one vote per person, not Tom has a bunch of stock ownership, so he gets a majority of the votes. It's you have 1 million tokens, bro. You get the one vote. So Tom has the minimum 1,000 or whatever the minimum token hold is. He gets the same vote as you.
That's good.
That's like the play, right? And so within the confines of and you start to escape federal regulation too when you do it at the state level, right? Oddly enough, in some areas. And so long as you give the processing facility 1% of the meat and allow them carcass, blood meal, bone meal, there's stuff you can make and sell it, right?
Yeah.
Then that's it. And so this is the better part of it. Let's say, I don't know, let's say everybody has all this schedule and somebody can see, like maybe you use Graph, right? The graph.io. You go,
Yeah.
we're keeping track of all the different types of meats, then all our different co-op coins, because there's a bunch of different branches of them, because there's slaughterhouses everywhere. We're keeping track of how much of each type is coming in and coming out. What do they call that? That's called a futures market. And so decentralize the futures market, CME, CBOE, what even is that? That's a number that you see that you can't personally equate. If it's a co-op coin, you can literally go, hold on, let me scroll up and hit filter for Texas. Okay, so they're getting this much in Texas, and this is the price of it, and this is what they expect based on their scheduling so far out. And so now you get to the next step where you go, man, Canada currently has a beef shortage, and it looks to me like they bought 1,000 of our co-op coin. So they're going to look and see where we're producing excess. Oh, it just so happens that you're producing excess. This is the closest place that's producing excess, because you can just do a proximity search. The graph is the Google of the blockchain, right?
Right.
So you go, man, so you send a message to the processing facility. We would like to buy this that you have coming up that is currently unclaimed. And so what does Farmer John do? Farmer John uses the co-op's Dun & Bradstreet account, right? Or at least a conversion. Maybe they use the Canadian one, right? Let them pay for the shipping and everything. And then they buy the farmer's meat at a price increase, right? Because even now, and actual capitalism is supply and demand, not the current fascist oligarchy that we have in America, right?
Agreed, yeah.
Capitalism is supply and demand. And so he goes, well, I have this extra, and so all you are literally is an agent. Go ahead and buy it. People will have to chase you with regulation, but guess what? Like, it's guerrilla. You will have it at the local level before people start figuring out what's going on. No, it'll be, well, we lost money in this sector, and in this sector, you're basically, you capitalize on the greatest advantage and disadvantage in modern business: communication. Can large-scale businesses communicate at a point efficiently enough to overturn what you're doing? The chances are they probably can't. How well do our conflicts go in guerrilla areas when it's man-to-man as a country? Not too well. How do we do in Vietnam? We set up what was it, Project Phoenix? We set up a great thing to create the Department of Homeland Security 20 years later. Like, that was a great operation. Morally, it wasn't, right? Morally bankrupt. But
right,
as far as we didn't do too well, because when you go where you aren't from to do things that you don't do there, it is very difficult for you to do them more efficiently than indigenous folk. That's just the play. I think you can do this with a great many other things. And as far as like carrying certifications, there's a lot of costs in that. I think you have to RFID tag cattle. If you did it on an app, you just QR code them, an old style tag, but instead of having a number, you QR code it. So you just scan it. Scan it.
Cattle can be on the blockchain.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Number them on the blockchain.
Yep.
Easy peasy. Guess what? We're selling cattle for a lot more in Texas than we are in Kansas. Can I come buy yours and sell them down here?
Yeah.
Couple of scans later.
So
that's how it used to be done. It just used to be done by word of mouth, and it was slower. We have the technology to expedite quality processes. We just choose not to.
So you're allowing anybody with an internet connection to get involved with this project and create an arbitrage,
you could create a commodity arbitrage with it, 100%. Why shouldn't you? Can you create a financial arbitrage with for Recombo, for one? I mean, you should be allowed to. That's how you balance markets. And effectively, that is how you get supply places, because they say, we don't have a lot of this thing here, so we're going to have to pay more for it, but we make a lot of this thing here, so don't have to pay for that. We're going to go very far out in the corporate structure of things that RecovEarth becomes a part of, and they won't all be underneath that banner, right? It'll get larger. But, you know, for us, it's guys, I have an idea. We should have an AMA. Like, hell, man, maybe it's a thing where, you know, I get on here and we go and I say, okay, this is what I have planned for this. Because I set up one for Conoco for certifications, right? Because I said that the way you do certifications in the oil and gas industry is pretty dumb. Like, to tell you that I've been certified safely is a sticker. Does anybody verify that sticker? I could have 20 of them in my truck.
Right.
Like, and some of them are quite important stickers, like well control and things like that. Like when wells are blowing out, right? I mean, I have a lot of well control stickers because it's like an instant signal. So, you know, my thoughts on that were, I actually wanted to create a token, like a kind of a wallet, kind of like a me wallet, but it was like, it's just NFTs, a bunch of different types of NFTs, right? Let me see if let me actually pull this one out. I called it Decensor. I haven't even, this one's not even, I don't know if we're even pushing into this one. So, multi-layer NFTs, basically just a group of smaller non-fungible tokens. They create a larger functional NFT. You can break them down and reconfigure them every way you want. These are different ways. These are just the different types. Some that are time governed. So a time governed NFT, it has a limited existence life. So basically, like, let's say you hire somebody, and one of the prerequisites is they have to get a commercial driver's license, right? And so you send them to school, which costs you $3,000. So then they get a permit for a CDL. And so let's say they only came to work for you so they could get it for free. Well, guess what? You can put time delayed NFTs on that. Like, say somebody it happens a lot in larger companies in the oil and gas industry. They say, I'm going to go to Schlumberger so I can go get supervisor level 1, 2, and 3. Well, if you put time delay NFTs on there, instead of saying, if you quit, I'm going to sue you for the cost of the school, because that almost never works. And it'll also save you the litigative troubles of putting non-competes and things like that. You just say, if you don't work here for 2 years, it's an NFT. I'll just take it off your personal record, because I intend on having people be seen for their public wallet address. That's it. It's not if you're black or white or male or female or however you identify yourself. I just identify myself as my public address. And it might seem weird at first until you understand the fact that people only need to hire you to do your job. They only need to trade you money for what's in the job description. Nothing else. You don't have to be happy at work. You have to be productive. And so I think a lot of times people put a bit too much weight on that. And then, you know, there's a lot of drama, expectations. It creates a lot of issues. And so if you could only see that, man, this guy has really high marks. He has all his certifications. He's definitely been working in this area because he has multi-layer NFT that shows years of actual operational experience in this field. This dude's strong. Or let's say oil and gas companies do it a lot. We're starting a project in Algeria. I need people with specific qualifications and experience. What could you do with the graph.io again? Google the blockchain. I could filter a search for those specific people. And if they exist within your company, you bring them. If they don't, you hire them. And you don't have to recruit or anything like that. You just go, nope, this guy right here, call that guy. Let's see what he's doing, and let's see if he wants to do it for more money. Done. That's it. That's the long and short of it, right? Simple. It's simple. It's just,
it's free market.
I'm gonna trade you money to do the shit that you're good at, and apparently you are much more efficient at it. Well, and see, and this is another thing that I was scaling out on. When you start to when you start that, oh, I guess I'll do the last one. The last one is a nested NFT. So this is a bit different. Like, you know how companies have admin level 1, level 2, level 3? You could have an admin NFT that shows the tiers that you've went through, how long they took and things like that. And so they're just all literally like stickers, but adult stickers.
Yeah.
You can get regular stickers if you like those too. That's fine. I mean, just, but these, you know, and you know, another thing, like when I worked at Schlumberger, it's funny, I would go to schools in different areas and it's like, okay, you're in Aberdeen, you're going to school in Aberdeen, Scotland. 10 people didn't show up. Well, at $2,500 a head, that's $25,000 you wasted. Plus, did you buy plane tickets for them? Can you refund those? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. It's $25,000. Did you refund the hotel rooms? Maybe, maybe not. Did you refund the costs associated with feeding all those people at the actual service center that you own? No, can't recoup any of that. So what happens if certification courses were NFTs that you acquired from the school, or if it's intra-corporate, you acquire from yourself? Now,
I never thought of that. NFT diplomas.
Exactly. Well, now if you show up to a place, when they scan your QR code, now it's a thing. Now you've traded an NFT for the school you're about to do. If you never show up, that cost center, which amounts to a district, still has that NFT. So they didn't lose anything. And you know what's the funny thing about NFTs? How are those looked at by the federal government? Are they looked at like art or property? So maybe instead of having money, maybe you put your money into NFTs, which are looked at by art and totally different tax classification.
Yeah.
Maybe saving a little bit of money. You may be not paying taxes on NFTs. You may have to redo how you do the tax. Like it would be a pretty big tax loophole. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of. It sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for money making in this whole system that you developed.
Yeah, because we can institute the certification system in our own platform. Right. And then you take engineers and you write white papers. Because if I make Schlumberger have those to come here, they're going to go, well, I wonder why we don't do that everywhere. Because you know what it does? It makes their classes all of a sudden worth a lot more money. Because somebody can't just say they did a thing. They have to show it. And they have to have traded either their time, or what can you do? You can get accredited. And you can do third-party educational software. And so long as you're, you know, it's going to have to be, you know, that part I can't go too far off into, because then you get into like API, NACE, these international governance bodies, like OSHA, basically international forms of OSHA, right? I can't change those. But if you have accreditation and you give professional courses, there's a lot of guerrilla professional course offers that offer them to Fortune 500. They're mostly management companies, right? Teach you how to manage and conduct yourself and things like that. But if you have your certification and accreditation, people can trade you money for NFTs and then take your stuff online. And it doesn't matter where your service center is now. It doesn't matter. Just if you have an educational course, can you do it online? If it requires hands-on, do you have a facility? Can you travel to them? Like, these are all cost incurred things. And then it like I said, you have a graph for that. Man, he doesn't like it. I'm shady.
You reading that?
Yeah, I can see the chat. Skiing out on taxes?
And you buy art? No fucking thanks. This guy is shady, skating out on taxes. What the fuck? This dude will get you wrecked hard enough. LOL. That's
Well, I mean, it's a community thing. Everyone, I think everyone has to hate something, right? The supposition is such that everyone hates anything. The truth of it all is Bitcoin is a fungible, intangible token, the same as a carbon credit. They're exactly the same. Oil, gold, fungible, tangible. Art, home loan, like home deeds, non-fungible, tangible. A cat sticker or copyrights, those are non-fungible, intangible. See, these already exist in the world. So digitizing it is, I mean, you can be scared of it. That's fine. Everybody has to be scared of something, but you're literally digitizing something that already exists, but you're decentralizing it. So I don't have to spend, I think that for the water machine patent for something like $350,000, if you can do the work right, you just, when you start to decentralize these things, it's whoever can do it the most efficiently gets it done. That's how society should work, like, to move forward. It's not like that's how society should move forward. I mean, there's so many different things that you could use it on, like first aid, crane certifications, PMP, Six Sigma, PE, which is a professional engineering stamp, like college degrees, minors, classes, company specific training, like for radioactive facilities and things like that. You would have a time delayed NFT that would allow you to service a radiation facility for X amount of days if you're doing electrical work. These are things that are a lot, like when you see that, oh, so-and-so was a contractor here and they got on this company and they stole a bunch of data, like all these insider leaks and things like that. NFT solves that. You didn't fake a sheet of paper. Somebody physically reviewed this. And so you would have to have that. How are you going to, I mean, I guess quantum computing is close to being on the verge of being able to, well, you could use Shor's algorithm to break 256-bit encryption. 512 privates, I don't know, man. I mean, I haven't dove too far off in that rabbit hole, but inherently, somebody would only know that you had an NFT for that if they were kind of on the inside. It shrinks down the amount of people with access, because it's the key issue, whereas it allows more security and privacy for everyone, both the holders and the non-holders. Another thing you could do is, like, when you see that, oh, he's a pulse chain guy. That's why he's mad, because you were talking about Hex and pulse chain. Yeah, for sure. Trade all your cryptocurrencies away, because normally, like when you create an AMM or what do they call it? An exchange, people put their tokens in and combine them with your token, and then you pay them back. But Pulse Chain is way better, because you just throw all your tokens at them and then probably get something back, right? I don't understand the destroying of your tokens. When I looked at it, it looked like an AMM without liquidity pools to pay interest to people. I mean, if we're going to talk about Pulse Chain.
I'd rather talk about your project.
I glanced. I had a couple of people ask about it, and I thought, no. Yeah. One of the guy does funding for larger companies, as a managing partner of the Money Tree, actually. It's not for me, but I don't know, man. That's the beauty of the crypto space. You can do whatever you want. It's just, if your product doesn't have any assets and the company doesn't do anything, then if you make money, somebody else lost it.
Right.
And it's always going to be the case, but I think you can minimize that by owning things. Whenever people buy a token, you turn their token into something else, not an idea. You don't need to turn every single crypto into something intangible. I mean, that's to some extent fiat currency. That's our entire monetary system now, right? I just like to get away from that semblance of valuation.
How about your tokenomics? Can you explain the tokenomics, the max supply, the circulating supply, how much is held by the OA?
This is kind of the part where I was bringing in the crypto person to best do it, because I had an idea about it, but that's why I got somebody who's better than me to do it. Because, I mean, if I'm not an expert at something, I will not feel comfortable making qualified statements on it. So we only need the amount of money it takes to acquire the project. So I don't, that's at the first governance meeting, that's kind of what I was going to go through. I started talking with a couple of consultants toward that end, and I'm obviously bringing some people in to help. But once the first asset is acquired, there's no reason for any more money in my brain. What would happen is I would say, this asset is acquired. You guys have bought this much extra, so we're gonna have a vote. What do you want to do with it? Because we can either buy another asset to manage, or we can buy some service companies to decrease our cost of managing the original asset, which is probably the play, right? So instead of paying $90,000 a day for a thing, you pay $350,000 and own it, $600,000 and own it, right? There are some very valuable options to extra money, but I only started the plan to acquire assets. So it wouldn't be my decision to go, hey, we got some extra money, man, let's go do this. That's nonsensical. You just take a vote. I mean, we made the thing for it.
So you're not sure about the tokenomics?
And then you vote on it.
So you're not sure about the tokenomics, the max supply, circulating supply?
No, a max supply is 250 billion.
Okay.
I have it on a sheet. Sorry. Yeah, we're just going for all at once. I don't really see any reason to run it all out like that. So let's see. The 25% tokens are going to be a little different, because the only reason I'm doing that is because when you buy the initial RecovEarth and then we start the next project, when you release that next token, we're going to give other people the ability to buy some early. So we're only going to allow 10% of the maximum token supply to be sold at that level. And then the airdrop is going to be at a 5-to-1 ratio. I mean, this is all the stuff I put in the paper, right? But the airdrop is going to be 5-to-1 ratio, and it'll be 25%. You'll get dropped 30 days after the launch, and then we release it every month after that, right? So it's I think 15% every month. Yeah, 15% of the remainder of the airdrop every month. But the thing is, to keep getting the airdrop, you can't sell off in between then, because that gives us enough time with that second asset to get it much farther past profitable. Because you don't, as a business, you don't want to destroy your value giving away, tokens or whatever. It wouldn't do you any good for me to go, I'm going to give you all these tokens. Here you go. It would be like owning 1% of your company and giving away all your shares and not being able to do anything because you're kind of at the mercy of it. I don't want to devalue people's stake, even though it is free, right?
Is there a team wallet, a treasury?
Yeah, we have a dev wallet. We're going. So that's what we're putting together right now. It's Gnosis, GNOSIS is who we're going to go through. That's what it is. We just talked about this last week.
Is that an auditor or?
No, it's multi-sig wallet company.
Okay.
Let me see. I think I don't know. It's not. Everyone manages their own part of the machine, right? The most efficient method. But
I'm just wondering the token.
I'm pretty sure it's Gnosis.
The token distribution. How much went to dev, how much went to early investors, how much went to treasury. Okay, so
0.5% goes to, we haven't even distributed any dev or anything. It's all main wallet. I think I have 1,000. I have a wallet where I distribute. So there's one wallet that I own, a RecovEarth wallet, that has some to distribute, but it's not personally mine. It's the RecovEarth one. And then we have the other founder has a wallet with the distribution of the rest. It's pretty novice, to be fair. I mean, I'm not against honesty. This is why we went the approach of going through Gnosis to have that structured up. He just looked at another company yesterday, Woozu, to bring it all in, handle it. So I know we're supposed to hear back from them in the next day or so. That portion of it is not, I mean, I kind of set it all up, but that's not really my portion. We're going to have somebody who does that for a living do it, because it's it's important.
Yeah, I do.
But no, we don't. Founders can only hold collectively 0.5%. So
okay.
Dev wallet, like dev and marketing, I think I put 1.5% for that, because that's gonna, but we haven't put anything into it. We've done it all free out of our own time and money.
What about transaction fees? Are there any transaction fees that go to a treasury or anything?
So my other partner is the one who set that up on Uniswap for the pool. That's all we have for now. That's what we were going to talk to the token company about, is what, we were going to give them our projections and then what they thought would be reasonable. Because this is the thing. We don't need to take a lot of fees to sustain the business, because it's a business with commodities that sustains itself financially, right? Right. So if we had no fees, that would be okay. I mean, to be fair, the business,
normally projects take a small amount of transaction fees and add it to a liquidity pool.
I just don't know what we would need it for. Like, I mean, if the asset's bought, I don't know what we ever would need transactional fees for. You see, I mean, you listen to the business model for what? When you say, well, to pay your crypto team, why wouldn't you just pay them out of the business money? Right. I don't understand the transactional fee. If it's all net revenue, why lose some of it? So I'm going to pay a company to take a fee for me when I could just take it directly out of the corporate coffers, right?
Right.
The transactional fee is indirect.
How much is each token worth at the moment?
I think it was just under a penny. Just under a penny. 0.00945, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about the fees. It was just I couldn't understand the necessity for it, because like most companies, I mean, we're a business. We don't make money off transactions. We make money off regular business practice. So charging a transaction just seems a little thefty. I mean, to run I don't know, it's like an indirect tax to me. It's like paying taxes to the federal government, and then I have to pay local taxes too, or I guess I have to pay, you have to be taxed on things, maybe like an estate tax. But I already paid taxes on my money that I used to buy the house. Like, why do I have to pay that shit again? Or like, why do I have to pay taxes on inheritance? I mean, what? Well, why? If the money was taxed that went into it, I mean, how much more do you need?
Do you have a Telegram for the project?
I do. I will link you all this stuff.
Can you say it?
Yeah, hold on. It's just RecovEarth. I'll get it exactly for you. I forget how they code the.
You can paste it in chat as well.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. Is actually I'm just gonna pull it out and paste it in chat. I don't think it's not looking like it wants me to paste it in chat. Here, I'll just send it to you, and I guess you can.
There we go. T.me/join RecovEarth.
Yeah.
I'll paste it to the chat. Shouldn't let me do it. All right, there's the Telegram. And you have a personal Twitter account. Is there a Twitter account for RecovEarth?
Yeah, it's the @EarthRecov. I think I just kicked that to you earlier.
Yeah, @Earth.
Yeah, @EarthRecov.
RECOV.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Put that in there too. So This is where you can find, the Telegram and the Twitter if you're interested in the project. It seems very creative. I'm a blockchain developer myself. I get interviews multiple times a day. I've never heard anybody talk about a project quite like this. So I'm a fan of things that are new and different and pushing the envelope.
Yeah, when you start taking away the control of commodities, I mean, it's kind of a, you know what I mean? It's kind of a poke in the eye to big financial people. Like in
do you think you're going to catch any flack?
Do what?
Do you think you're going to catch any legal flack? Yeah.
Not legal. We already did a 504. We filed with the SEC.
Okay.
They sent us a deal back that said something. I'm not going to pursue any regulation in our area for the rest of 2021. I was like, what? It's a weird thing to say.
That is a weird thing to say. What about 2022?
I don't know, man. It's kind of one of those deals where you say, I showed you everything I was going to do, and I laid our whole thing out, and I filed for a 504. So I guess we asked for permission. If you look at some of our other people too, you'll note some of those people are. We did everything we were supposed to do. They're C-suite level employees, so they have been executive level, having their salaries listed, like large ownership people. So they made sure that the paperwork was appropriate.
Good.
Matter of fact, the guy who I had do it does a goodly sum of financial, like setting up deals for utilities and oil and gas companies. A lot of executive experience. I know him for 20 years.
Plans of a token buyback with some of the profits?
Yeah, we were actually looking at that to increase the value. So that was going to be one of our plans, to release a vote on it, to say, well, we have X amount. Would anybody like to take a vote on? Because so this is kind of another caveat. Oil and gas produces for so many years, and then different assets eventually peter out. And so some of the things, I have a bit more extensive shale knowledge and know that most shale wells only produce about 31% of what they're supposed to produce. And so you can go back in them with certain methods, and you need certain technology that may or may not have worked on it. That'll be kind of an advantage, but as the asset peters out, that's going to be 20, 30 years. It may be when it stops producing. I read a paper on this. So the way oil and gas assets produce inside the earth, the magma is not static. It has a tide, like a magmatic tide, and it rolls around inside. And so certain zones come on and off, like as thermal pressure is applied to that inner strata. Obviously, this process takes many years, but I think most of these will go almost lifetimes for people. If they invested at 20, I think I can make an asset last 60 years, give or take. It all depends on what you're doing in the area, but it depends on what you're pulling and how fast you're pulling it. Even if it's 20, I mean, it's 20 years. Have you owned anything 20 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people own Bitcoin for 20, or not 20, but however long, 10,
14,
yeah.
14 years, and they're billionaires now.
Yeah.
I
think it will be hard once people understand, like once people with a lot of money understand what we're doing, it may be where we get bought out, or they will want to buy us out or make it difficult. Like if you look at some of the assets that we're going to acquire, they have their own production facilities, because I've already hedged the bet that people aren't going to want to produce for us. Not initially. No one's going to think we're anything initially. I've talked with, like, the guy who runs INX, Douglas Borthwick. He follows me on Twitter. I've spoken with him a few times about it, about like the whole process, and like in his team to that end too. They were he was pointing towards us going public and then getting on INX. I'm not really interested in that. I think being private allows us to engage people more efficiently, and it also allows you to be more fluid. You know, that if you go public, you have to have shareholders, and that's not what we're about, man. We're about having token holders. Like, you know, I want people to believe in what I'm doing, and so in order for you to, so you can have token holders and be a garbage company and run through garbage management. When you're a token holder, success is the rent that is paid daily. If you make a stupid position, people can sell all of your tokens and put you in a bad way, right?
Yeah.
We'll still have commodities, but that's the balance of it. That's why we're doing it like this, because if, like, you see some good companies go in the tubes, because you see, well, I mean, like, have we had manipulated Bitcoin prices and organized sell-offs in the last couple weeks? You could say yes. Didn't somebody buy over $1 billion in Bitcoin yesterday? You've seen market movements both ways orchestrated. To our end of it, if people got in and tried to like buy and sell on bots, it would just change the token price. But at the end of the day, the company is the same machine, because it collects tangible profits as opposed to everything being intangibly traded. You know, I'm not offering you a swap. I'm offering you a chance to participate. Maybe not participate might not be the right word, but it's probably not.
I'm interested in potential profit sharing, just to increase the price of the token for holders. Do you have a burn policy? Do you plan on making it deflationary and burning?
Yeah, that's going to be part of the governance, is for intelligent people that buy into these things to decide what ought to be burned. Because I'm not see, this is the thing I don't like about companies, is you'll get somebody that runs a company that is like really good at this one thing, but he tries to extend his position into other areas, and this is where you see companies make blunders, right? And so for me, I know that I'm not the smartest person in the world, so if people buy my tokens and they have intelligent dictum as to how things should be handled, you can't ignore intelligence.
Right. And
so you say, this is a dope ass idea. I think maybe we should do this. I think maybe this is how it should be done. And because if you look at many companies, what do large companies do best? They buy small companies that do many things better than them. That's how they stay large, is they buy the competition. And so I don't want to stay large by buying the competition. I want to stay large by listening to the people who have token share.
And if the token holders vote on something,
that's it.
It doesn't matter what you think.
No.
You can't override their decision.
No, this is the whole point of having it like that. Like it's you're presented with all the best options, and then everybody goes, I think it's this, I think it's this, I think it's this. And the deal is, like, this is the whole crux of it, is you go, well, they could vote on something really crappy and lose all their money? That seems dumb. If people want to vote on something that doesn't work and they lose all their money, what can you do?
That's the beauty of the DAO.
It's the great game, baby. It's the great game. And so, as much as we have to show you, I am certain that we can glean much more from the community. Because I want, like the guy that came in chat, I want someone to argue with. I want somebody to tell me something I don't know. Because then when I wake up tomorrow, I'm that many steps ahead of the people who aren't going to like what I'm about, who aren't going to like what I'm about to take from them. I don't want to have stockholders. I want to buy an asset in the middle of the year without a capex and just go, we're going to clap that. We're going to have this. And so we're going to develop it. And then I don't have to tell my plans to anybody, just my token holders, and just say, here's the plans for this asset. So it should produce this, this, and this. And so then in their brains, they go, well, we're going to have, you know, this asset's already producing. So in our first 25% distribution, we should have this much in there. And so what can they do in the meantime? They can get staking pools ready or whatever they want to do. If they decide to make a swap just for tokens on RecovEarth and exchange, don't care. Don't care what you do. These are all you, like, be an adult. Do the thing that makes you the most money. I'm just showing you that this might be one of those things.
Yeah, this is a super young project. You just started it. You're still hashing out the details. I'll definitely have you back on.
I've done a lot of research, and I don't quite yet know what the best thing is. And so my step here is to kind of let people know where we're at, and you should be able to see the vacancies, right, on the boat, as it were. You know, there's a couple things we need to do before we put ourselves on Gilligan's Island, right?
Right.
I don't think I'm old enough to have ever seen that show when it aired, but I think that the metaphor stands.
I remember when I was younger watching it on Nick at Night. Or
there it is. Yeah.
Later,
I think there's always a better way to do something, and if you don't know it, it's fine. But if you don't pursue it, that's your fault. So my intent is to highlight the things that we know how to do well, and to highlight the things that we don't think that, or highlight the things that we think could be done more efficiently or even better. And so then the people that come in and give you money say, it should be that. I mean, you guys should do, like, this is what I would do. And let me research that. Let's go. You know?
Yeah. Well, we covered a lot.
It's a dog sled team, right?
Yeah.
You know which one is the alpha because he's in front, but which one's pulling harder?
Right.
You don't know. It's all in the same chain. You know, they're all linked. You don't know. And that's our goal. Like, you'll never know who the strongest dog in the sled team is, because we're all moving.
Well, I look forward to talking to you again. We covered a lot.
For sure.
I'll be talking to you about, I'll be in touch with you on Twitter to see how this project is progressing. Anyone interested in the project, the Twitter is on the screen here, @EarthRecov. And the Telegram is t.me/join RecovEarth here on the screen. Thanks for talking.
Yeah, man, sure. We appreciate you on.
And I'd love to have you back on sometime.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.